Hello, welcome to Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start Unit 4, Theoretical Analysis, and our topic is Turning Away from Functionalism. It was Karl Marx, 1880 to 1883, whose influence led to the initial turn away from the functional theory. His basic assumptions regarding the nature of society itself as a product of historical materialism was in contradiction to the view of society as a harmonic system that could be subjected to static analysis. Methodologically, history and the dynamic perspective were now seen as essential to the sociological analysis. The works of Marx 1844, 1857, 58, 1859, 1861 to 79 were the prime stimulant to the development of a critical approach to social reality. Those forming social science theory in the mid-20th century drew inspiration from the ideas of George Simmel and Max Weber. We will find that Weber also provided account to the essential positivism of the Marxian theory that was to have been a true scientific study of history. The contribution of Marx was to take away the mechanistic character attributed to the actions of human beings, showing them to be active agents in shaping their destinies, but only as products of their own histories. He firmly emphasized the human existence in the material world as contributory to social action rather than mere ideas shaping history. Marx's assumptions regarding society was criticized on the basis of their overt generalizations regarding the importance of economic organizations and property relation in shaping society and the bipolarization of social conflict. It was also recognized that the property is not the only basis of power in society. For example, take the thesis of Dumont, who held that in the context of caste system in India, the sacred power of the priest was considered superior to the temporal power of the king. Moreover, it was also debatable whether conflict always causes social change. We can give example of Glockman, who had found that conflict could also function as the basis of maintenance of the social order. Notwithstanding these arguments against Marx's ideas, his key propositions regarding the nature of society had a lasting influence on social thought. We can say that sociology as a discipline remained until the 1960s largely in the realm of functionalism and developed two types of theories, namely grand theories and middle range theories. Grand theories make sweeping generalization about the nature of society and history, and middle range theories are more inductive in nature and are built up around a limited set of observed facts. Marx's theory was an example of the first kind, one that made predictions about the state of the world. Another grand theory that dominated sociological thinking in the mid-20th century was functionalism of Talcut Parson. His work, The Structure of Social Action, is one of the most influential theoretical works of the 20th century. Parsons' action theory is integrative in nature, and his concepts of functional prerequisites are independent of time or place. They are general and ahistorical. That is, they are found in all societies at any point of time. Critiquing Parsons' approach, Giddens had commented in both Arthurian Marxism and Parsesian sociology, the reproduction of society occurs behind the backs of the agents whose conduct constitutes that society. The involvement of actors' own purposive conduct with the rationalization of action is lacking in each case. In Parsons' sociology, as a result of the value consensus, norm internalized need disposition theorem, and in Althusser's writing as a consequence of his deterministic account of agency. Hence, the teleology of the system either governs or supplants that of actors themselves. The functional theories of Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski were criticized as not really reflecting social reality. Increasingly, by the 1960s, or criticism of a functional approach was emerging that considered the homostatic system forming the basis of the functional theory as utopian. Some criticisms, like those of Merton and Firth and Leach, came out from within the limits of functionality. These critical views reinterpreted the concept to introduce more flexibility. For example, Merton introduced the concept of functional alternative and functional substitutability. Similarly, Raymond Firth gave the concept of social organization, and Edmund Leach discussed the concept of dynamic equilibrium. The emphasis in all these was on middle range of generalization. The next phase in theory was the turn to evolution, or to a dynamic conceptualization of society. The static was seen as totally inadequate to explain social reality that was visibly transforming. This view became entrenched in the era of rapid global change. In the social sciences, there was a revival of evolution in the form of neo-evolutionary theory. And in sociology, the work of Niklas Luhmann emphasized the role of the environment in the study of social system. In all such theories, we see an attempt to get away from too much generalization, to come back to the more concrete and material conditions, but at the same time not to forget the symbolic dimensions of human society. Both cultural ecology and Luhmann's general systems of approach included environment as a variable for understanding social reality. Adaptation to environment became a key concept, and maladaptation was introduced into analysis. Another major transformation in theoretical analysis was in thinking that the social sciences could never be truly positivistic. One of the prominent followers of this mode of reasoning was Max Weber. In spite of his efforts to rise above positivism, Weber included generalization in his analysis that indicate his belief in the regularities of social life. Such regularities are clearly present in his discussions of leadership and the evolution of leadership from the traditional to the rational legal. One major contribution of Weber was his critical insights into the process of evolution towards modern society. His view of evolution was not a utopian one of unilateral progress. He did not see the destruction of tradition as uniformly beneficial to human life. There is a useful comparison between the approaches to Weber on the one hand and of Durkheim and Radcliffe Brown on the other. In Batley, Weber said, "We can accomplish something which is never attainable in the natural sciences, namely the subjective understanding of the component individuals." Now we may turn to what replaced the functionalist approach in our next lecture. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcasts.